20 tombs so far. It exists, it's just like, they found it from the, excavation. They still found, and some archaeological people, they disagree about the job of this monument. Maybe it was for different purpose, because there is no mummy, there is no bones, but they go, okay, this is a tomb. According to these people, have a believing of life after death, so much like the old Egyptians, of course. Yeah. The founders of the area, who are the Nabateans? They are Arab people. Originally, they're Arab, from the very old Arabs who've been live in the semi-Arabian island. So they came on the remain of ancient kingdom here. It's called by, or a part of that ancient kingdom, it's named by the Edomite. That's what's mentioned in the Old Testament. And it's linked to Moses, the prophet Moses, when he was losting in Sinai desert. That's why this is make a sense to see the tomb of Aaron on the top of the highest mount of Petra Mount and the highest mount of Sinai Mount. See, when we talk Sinai, we talk about 40 years Moses lost in this desert with his people, Sinai desert. So back in that time, you can just imagine that this was belong also to Sinai, trying to looking for the land he was promised. And one of the miracle that when he hit the rock, and then the water is blowing from under that rock. This has become so much the main source for the water from up the town there and leading the water all the way here. And it makes sense about his brother Aaron that he died there. This, it depends on many of records to be proved this. But when we date back, let's say Moses, you should go with 1200 BC. All right, 1200 BC. Now, on the remain of all that, on the remain of the Edomite kingdom, and by the way, Petra was named by Sela or Salah in the Bible, this area. The Nabateans, they found the place, and they found this place is located where the ancient Silk Road, on the way of the trade caravans. So there is a water here. So when they realize this, the Nabateans, they start build their own kingdom. So that's why we call it the kingdom of the Nabateans. We date the Nabateans back to 312 BC. When? 312 BC, before Jesus, 312 years. These people, the Nabateans. So we found writing and we found inscription in Arabic language of their names, their kings' names, their gods, the mythology of what they've been worshipped. So much Arabic, like Dhu Shara, their god is Arabic. Mina, Allat, Al-Uzza. They have Ubada name, it's Arabic name. Al-Harith. They have also some names of females. Also, we found it like Shukaila, like Mas'ada. So this is all Arabic names. So this is like proof and confirm of the belief that these people, the Nabateans, they're Arabic people. They're Arabic people. So the Nabateans, when they start do their own kingdoms here, it was for a purpose. The purpose is we can have a tax. We do the service, we have the water, and we take tax from these caravans. What was the trade? What was the trade back in that time? Silk.
Yeah.
Of course, like silk and the spices, but more it's like, what is the very expensive back in that time? The frankincense.
Oh, yeah, frankincense.
Frankincense, and they call it the incense and the myrrh. Yesterday, remember when I told you the myrrh. So they become doing the business of that, frankincense and myrrh and incense. Of course, include the silk, include the spices. And the Nabatean themselves, they start offering. So what you got? So they start doing like a Wall Street.
Yeah,
trading, of course, yeah. So they become the richest nation in the world, and they become the controller of this business, and they become have a stations of tradings everywhere. So it doesn't mean only Petra. They have stations even we found Nabatean influence in Rome, in Italy, in Rome, because of course, after the Nabateans, they been like taken by the Romans, by the Emperor Trajan, by dealing. Sometimes people say like occupation from the Romans, to the Nabateans, but I believe that it was by dealing between the king that let's make the deal. Let me be on my business, right? And I will pay for you, like, and we can make a deal. So that's why that makes sense to find the Nabatean influence in Rome, find Nabatean influence in many places in the world. So they become controlling the trade, the business. This is their center here, their center, and they become very rich, and they make this place world commercial center. Imagine what I'm saying, this is like BC.
World Trade Center.
Exactly. World Trade Center, And okay, I said myrrh, I said frankincense, but you just imagine everything after that. That a story could be telling when you see the beautiful work of carving. There is no mistake in this carving. And you always ask yourself, who are these people, this art, who did all the details of the carving and how they make it. That's what we will see. Now, let's return back about what they think about life after death. That makes sense. So we see a tombs in a different design. This is a tomb right there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it looks like a little bit like the snake, when the snake, so they call it the snake tomb. That's what they call it. Why they call it the snake tomb? There is no much records being found to know these monuments belong to whom. So the local people who've been live here, they name them according to the design of them. Like for example, when you took the treasury, the treasury monument, who call it the treasury? The Bedouins who've been live here. They thought there is the treasure of Pharaoh of Egypt behind, so they start shooting bullets.
Oh.
Shooting bullets on that facade, thinking that if I shoot, the gold will be dropped down. The treasure will be dropped down. So that's why they call it the treasury. So they call all the monuments according to the design. For example, that's what we call it, the genie blocks. That's what they call it, genie.
Yeah.
Genie blocks, more than one. Looks like a blocks.
Yeah.
Genie blocks tomb. Genie.
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 Lamp.
A genie at the lamp.
Genie. Okay. Yes.
Thank you. That's in English, genie.
Genie. Yes. Sorry.
So the Bedouins, when they hear the sound of the wind goes through this hole, it's make like a fear sound. So they go like, there is a genie here.
Yeah, someone inside.
Exactly. So they call it the genie blocks. What is the purpose of it? Tomb? Maybe not. For different purpose? Nobody really knows. Because no much record being
It's so ancient, there's no record, is there?
no much records. Some records found, but it's not this much to know exactly why they carved all these monuments. So if I am archaeological and I just want to write about this, I will just write a book and say this is a tomb, in a different design, because they believe in a life after death, like the old Egyptians. Believing life after death, that's mean if they will be buried the bodies here and no bones being found, after all these years, but there's a treasure being found. It was taken, back in time, of course. You talk about the lost city from the map. You talk about the hidden city. That's what they be called until they rediscovered it. When? 1812 by John Louis Bockhart. He's the re-explorer. Explore it. It's like rediscover it back to 1812. Johann Louis Bockhart. He's from Switzerland, the German part. Since that time, he start, saying that I found this lost city, and start the excavators and archaeological come from Britain, from so much like the story of Tutankhamun, the British, I forget his name.
Egyptian king.
Yeah, they did.
Tutankhamun.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it
Yeah,
was a
but
British
discovered by-
archaeologist who found it. That was back to beginning of 1960s, or when they found the mummy.
The mummy.
The
Yes.
mummy. Right. So this is what we are explaining now. We see tombs. I go like Genie Block's tomb according to the design. There is the cross steps. Looks so much like they took a little bit of the Egyptian architecture. Look at these steps. Tombs. They call it the cross steps, to the left and the right. What's that mean? Going to paradise or going to like the hell, for
Hades,
example. So this thinking was of these people who translated, this way. So everything we're looking at is Nabataean. What is Nabataean? Nabataean is a word in a very ancient Arabic. When you say Nabata al-Sakhr, al-Sakhr meaning the rock. And when you see Nabata from old language, carve. He carved the rock. Even Petra is a Greek name which is mean the rock. I said now Petra. What is Petra meaning? Greek name which is mean the rock. During the Nabatean, they call it Rakimo there. So it's different names according to the nations who've been live here. So the Nabateans being traders, and definitely they been speak the business language back in that time, which is no, they speak Arabic. They are thank you so much. Greek. So that's why also we see some Greek scriptures. No wonder about that. It's a trade place, right? Word commercial. So you'll see this back in this time, and I want you just to imagine. Keep yourself imagining like 2000 before how really people lived here. Let's go. Nobody knows. He's a VIP from the community back in that time. So he's trying to show off that I am this man. My name Abed Mango, and I built this or I carved this for me and my family. He's trying to show off that look at my fancy tomb. So it was from their life habits that to be showing off their monuments and how they will be transferred, let's say, to the other life. So this writing is linked to the what we call it. He doesn't name the tomb, so we call it by the design of it. What we call it? The obelisk tomb. There is obelisk there. Obelisk, pediment, triangulity of the life, like I told you yesterday. So every nation take it from the previous one. Yeah. To the dam. Can you see the dam? I'm just standing here because the shade.
Yes.
See the dam? That's Nabatean. It's restored, but it's Nabatean dam. So if there is no dam, you know what the Nabatean did? They digged underneath. When they have overflow of water, they release the water, and they release the water to lead into a tunnel. We call it the dark tunnel.
That's very clever.
Very clever, very genius of them. That tunnel, it was digged and carved for 82 meters. And let the water lead to their basin, to their, they create it to be like a river of water in the middle of the desert in their territory. And that's what we will see, because they've been genius how to bring the water to our area. Let's see why? Okay, I can defend myself. So if they will be attacked me, they need a time. If they will be attacked, and here I'm talking about the Romans from some stories, I can throw the rocks from up 80 to 90 meters from the cliffs from both sides of this canyon we will walk, which is the sea. Okay.
Yes, it's amazing, isn't it?
From the home, from the shop, bring more fires, blessing. This is how the people believe. So he's trying to burn, and you smell that.
Yes.
And this is
In the
outside
Catholic
many
Church.
shops, isn't
They
it?
have also, yeah.
In my church.
Also in Muslims also they do
Yeah.
in the homes to fire the devil.
And outside shops, and in the mall, they're always burning this too. And
Yeah, to have a blessing,
Yeah, yeah.
to make sure business will be always good,
Yes. So what is
Yeah.
this that he's putting on?
He's trying to put the mirror,
Oh,
oily mirror. It smells very good.
you would say that.
When he burned it,
Yes.
the smoke of it, even it's like healthy when you smell it, really. Yeah.
It's a frankincense.
Huh?
I didn't
It's
know
different.
it
Yeah,
came-
different. Myrrh, different than frankincense. I believe it's all collect from leaves of trees.
From
Oh, like
This
a resin,
trees-
A resin.
Yeah,
yes,
it's like a resin,
yeah.
exactly. So these trees, if you want to find these trees, it's very hard to find these trees in some specific islands between Oman and Yemen. And that makes sense. From Yemen, the trade was all the way from a very specific trees. Have you ever heard about island called by Socotra?
Yes.
Yes.
Island.
Of
Yeah, yeah.
Yemen.
This is back in this thousands of years. It was even very rich because they plant that kind of trees and they to treat the leaves and collect it and produce all the frankincense and myrrh. So the original one, originally from Yemen.
Yes.
Anything originally from Yemen, really. Do you know where's the original coffee and the delicious, much expensive coffee in the world? In Yemen.
Right.
In Yemen.
So when you go to the souk, Debbie, I'll show you. But you can buy frankincense in different forms because you can buy the wood. You can buy.
I have some.
You have wood too,
Yes.
so different types.
Yes.
Yes.
I have
So
more
and it's
collection
very
inside.
expensive.
Yeah. You like to take a look now? Or? For different purposes from this water. Water is like a blessing. That's what the ancient nations they believe. To the right side, I will point to you the water pipes from the pottery. It's Nabateans. Still exist. Down and then they raise it up for the pressure on this soft material. We will see this.
Can
when
I
we
just
walk. Mineral you will see is the iron. They call it the conglomerate. Now I'll show it to you.
And we
on the
pay
right.
to take magnesium and iron.
It's even when you touch it, it's much harder, much much solid, than this. Now, this is natural, but it's partly carved. Carved the channels of the water, controlling the speed of the water, and carved the water pottery. For the water pottery, we will see it. This is niches. Sometimes they put niches for occasions to put like a statue for their god. That's what the mythology they believe. So the Nabatean maybe they believe the same. So they put the statue of their main god and the Nabatean before the Greek on these niches. In between, you see the arch, and this is announced that your entry now to the holy city for them. Holy city. Any holy city, by the way, it is a business city. Thank you, thank you so much. Vatican is for it's a holy city, but it's for business right now.
Absolutely, and it's got more treasures than
More treasure. And where else? 5 million years. But we will never imagine the 5 million years before. Our brain will never imagine that. But that's what they say. According to these tribes, from this mineral, which is iron, conglomerate. That's what they call it. Yes. So we see a lot of these tribes of their kingdom, the center of their kingdom. And the nation we are talking about here is the Romans. It was the first campaign during Roman Empire. His name is Trajanus. So this is hidden, right? And Roman Empire was in the cities, Rome and Philadelphia, like we talked yesterday, in the cities. But this is like far away in the desert on the Silk Road, and they're doing business. So by intelligent way, spies, they told the emperor Trajan that there is a people who's getting riches and richer. When he heard that, he wants to attack the place and take this business for himself, for his empire. So he doesn't know that those people is very smart because they've been hiding the water source and have the water as we talk. So from the first campaign, they couldn't occupy the place. 106 AD, what I'm saying, 106 AD, they attacked the place and they occupied it, they invaded, right? They go with this word, occupied it or invaded. But sometimes I disagree with this. Why don't they make a deal with the king of the Nabatean back in that time, and his name King Aretas IV, just from the beginning of the 1st century AD. And that makes sense.
Yes.
Why you want to attack me? Let's make a deal. So I will give you tax, I'll give you, but leave me alone to do my business with my people and my nation. So they go with 106 AD. The Romans tried to, from the second campaign. And how they did that, there were spies, who told them told the Romans, where's the water source? So might be they cut the water source. Because the water source from out of this valley, it was out of this valley. One of what we translate. But anyway, Nabatean, they've been very peaceful and smart in the politics, to make a deal. So I myself personally more suggest that than to be occupied in an aggressive way from the Romans. As sometimes when we think about Romans, oh, they've been aggressive and they've been. I disagree with that. They've been politics and diplomatic, like what's going on in our time.
Even now, yes, that's right.
Juniper.
Oh, okay. Oh, juniper.
Yeah, juniper.
Gin.
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 But this is not for gin. Just decoration. The mount goes widely, and if you excavate, you find more. If you excavate. And this is where it's lead the water. So that's why they built also like a dam here. Like it's rebuilt from these bricks, but it was already built from since the Nabatean time. Bricks, yes. Point, it speed more. So how come or how can I control the speeding of the water? Here's the thing. So I have to make some measuring. They've been genius engineers. And this is the perfect spot to dig a square hole, which will be stop the speed of the water. Here's the purpose of it. Stop the speed of the water. So the water goes like this. So you are slow down the water. Pottery material itself, more than 2,000 years until now. You can see it.
Yeah.
Eye, nose, beard. He looks like a king. You see it?
Yes,
In the clip
yes.
to the right side. So very much detailing like a human face. Yeah. Soft, silky, because it was a waterway, and that's why it's still cracky at the top. Because here's where the waterway, of course, before the Nabatean, so it's make it much eroded, to be much silky down here. Well, if you just focus with your eyes inside the frame where the statue is, you see a beautiful woman, alaykum salam wa rahmatullah, standing. This woman, she's Isis, the Egyptian god.
Yes.
Why I'm connect this? It's connecting to the treasury, because when you see the treasury, you see a beautiful woman standing with a beautiful dress, and she's like a god, and she's a god, Egyptian god. So the Nabatean, they mixed the gods, from the Egyptians to the Greek mythologic to what they believe in one story. So this is unfortunately so much destroyed because of the erosion, but it's a statue for a woman. She's like wearing a dress. Look at the dress down. Look at the dress. Down where the legs and up, you see she's like raised her hand, and there is a face between the two shoulders. Yeah. You see, you have like two eyes and looks like a nose. So in a square way. Mm-hmm. And then the mother god in the front of him. The mother god, that's what they said. So this is the holy of the holiest of what they believe. That there is the holy of the holiest and the god of the god is here. They carve it here. Now, they have like the same scenario of the worshipping in Mecca, in Kaaba. So they, before Islam, they've been turning also 7 times because it's a holy place, even before Islam. So the Nabateans also is Arab. So they make the scenario here to be turning 7 times, to have like blessing to their, business, to their life, and to their power. So they're turning 7 times in this spot. And they have like carved the stairs there to a room. They carve it for the priest, the kahin, the priest room. And there, where the altar, that's like a little gob. It's like a gob. Altar to sacrifice the animals, to kill animals like goats, and then the blood goes through this channel. So it's like a believing of the way they worship the Nabateans.
And this is all the different layers of minerals, isn't it?
It's the minerals
Yes.
and the colors.
Yes.
Yeah, we call it. Yeah, we call it the Rose City or the Red
That's
City.
phenomenal
Yeah.
because
This is-
the riches that are in
that
Yeah, yeah.
wall,
Yeah.
like if you took it out, it's
Yes, it's give the colors.
mega money.
Natural
But
colors.
those, do we know what all the different ones are, all the different layers? Because that's millions of years right there.
Of course, yeah. It's like different minerals from
Yes,
copper to
copper.
oxidin to
Yes.
iron, different. So that's what makes the colors, of these
Yes.
rocks.
Let's say man.
Many of them around.
He looks a man standing and he holding like a stick. Yes, this is represent God by Greek mythology. It's named by Atargates. So they want to have the familiarity of the God. Is like the people believe in this God. The people are traders, so they have familiar. This is my God here in this area. So this is make familiar to make more business. They have been genius with this. And all the business was because of the trade caravans. Yeah, ancient trade caravans. When we talk caravans, Sarai, we talk about camels. We talk about the camels who's holding all the goods, to here. The camels is very important. When we talk Silk Road, what they used? Camels, right? To transfer. The hump? So here's a hump of camel. And here's the legs, feet, the camel down here. This is carved, but destroyed because of the earthquake maybe. But this is how they make it like the same size of the camel. You just look at the man, right? There's a man, you see it, wearing a silk robe, right here. So there is a camel, another camel, there is a man here. You just imagine that this is was connected. Where these corners, like somebody stand here, and somebody, male and female here, like a ceremony wedding. So the priest is standing here, and he is like blessing their ceremony, a marriage. They're holding each other hands, and they're looking at the triangularity of the gods. That's they're now engaged to be a husband and wife. Yeah. One monument in Petra. We call it the treasury. This facade behind me, we call it the treasury. Who named it the treasury? The Bedouin who've been here. They have this believing that there is a treasure behind the facade. So they start shooting bullets. Even you can see the influence of these bullets down here and up on the statue in the middle. So from here, they create the name to be, this is the treasury. But basically, nobody know what is the name of this monument. We call it the treasury. In Arabic, we call it Al-Khazna, but nobody really know what's exactly the name because it's not mentioned in any record. But all what we know from the records that the designer and the one who ordered for this to be carved was one of the Nabatean kings. His name Aretus IV. Aretus is Arabic name. We said Al-Harith Al-Rabi. He's the king of the Nabateans in their golden time. In their golden time. I was trying to mention Aretus when I said he make a deal because he was very smart and very wisdom king. Aretus IV, he's the designer and he ordered for this to be carved from up to down. And when you look at the details and the goddess which is carved on this facade, you see mixed of goddess. Look at this beautiful story. From the top where the corner, you see a bird sitting. This is eagle, and this is a god of the Assyrians. Assyrians is another nation during the Nabateans. So the eagle, now yesterday we talked about the iconolosm war. Iconolosm war meaning that we should destroy these icons by cutting the head of the statue, any statue, if it's animal, bird, or human. So you see the bird, but you can't see the head of the bird. Now, you see the frieze where the corner, and you can see also like a wings. There's like a wings from the top part, the upper part, and there is a wings down here. There's two wings. You see the wings where the pediments. So this is all have meaning. But the most beautiful meaning, when you see, unfortunately, how much they shot on Isis. She's the Egyptian god. She's standing in the middle, wearing this beautiful dress, and inside the niches, you see two women. This is the Amazonite. So it's a Greek mythology with the Assyrians and also with the Egyptians. So they mix it. We talk about they want to make a familiarity to everyone visit here from these traders to keep on the familiarity and the peace. So Aretus, he was very smart to be ordered for this to be carved all in one story. And then we see the victory goddess also. This is the victory god. You see, one and one there. And it's very much the same. So you ask yourself, how come they carve it, those carvers, in a very equal way, and there is no mistake. A little mistake will damage the whole thing. You will say like, okay, there's a mistake here. This is not looks like. So the thing which is really this was a break. Okay, they hold it. So the thing which is really make you wonder that how they carved this in these details, but it's the same size. When you see the statue, when you see the columns. By the way, there is a columns on the top there, and look at the capital. Also, we call it the Corinthian. It's Nabatean Corinthian columns, and down you see where the pediment with the frieze and the corpse. There's like a corpse. You see the corpse and the pediment, and you see the frieze, and you see like a crown up the pediment. This is also, it's a crown, so it's have a meaning. And down you see again the frieze, and you see the corpse, and you see the cups. Looks like a cups of wine. Looks like a cups of wine. Looks like the Holy Grails. So why they have the cups? The cups, they said, if I'm rich, I have my fancy palace, I have my golden spoon and fork, and I have a guest, so I will be show off. So they're like trying to show off that we are the richest nation. When you see the Holy Grails, when you see these wine cups right there. Now, you eyes looking at the lower columns. So there's actually 2, 4, 6 columns, and it's trick. The columns is trick your eyes, because your brain with your eyes will be think that the lower columns holding the upper part, but these lower columns, it's not holding the upper part, because everything is carved. It's carved. So this is a cleft, so they carved the cleft, and they lift this one, and it's trick your eyes. It looks like it's holding the upper part. How much they are, really genius designer and carver back in that time. And the wondering question is, who are they? Who are they, those people? Inside you always think, I wish I can know who's this art man, and how much time it was taking, and how they been do it in a very equality. When you look at the frieze, when you look at the corpse, when you look at the Corinthian column, down and up. There is a room here, and it's not access to any place. Maybe. When I was a very little kid, they've been doing the school trip, and it was allowed to go inside. It's not access to any place. And then they don't allow, saying that, excuse that, people are scratching and damaging, so it's not allowed no more, but it's for 8 square meters. Look at the wings, and here you see 2 men riding 2 horses. This is Castro and Pollux. The god Castro to the left, Pollux to the right, and they're the sons of Zeus. Again, it's a Greek mythology. It's a Greek mythology. When I said the Greek mythology, it's made by the Nabatean, but it's mixed story between Egyptian, Assyrians, Greek, and many civilization. If I go to
the Greek
exactly, if I go to Australia, If I go to Australia, huh? Oh, very far away Australia. So I'm like walking in the street, and then I see the treasury picture. If I see Jordan flag, I will feel familiar.
Yes, of course.
So they're very smart. They want to make familiarity. Look at the philosophy of what they want. So this is a part, this is a lower part. There is like a footsteps in both sides. These footsteps, if you can count them, there will be 365 footsteps, like the year. There is a 12 columns, looks like the 12 months of the year. Maybe like also they mean something like a calendar. The sun rising on the treasury, on this facade. The sun rising, so that's mean it's facing to the east. Look at my hand. Here's the treasury facade. It's facing to the east, and this is the wind direction. So it's facing to the east. The other beautiful monument is the monastery. It's facing to the west from the top. It's facing like this. It's facing to the west, and there the wind direction goes to the west. So that's why it doesn't at all affect by the erosion on this facade. When you look at it, it still looks like brand new, like they carved it yesterday. Very much brand new. Anyway, the footsteps in both sides, we believe that it was for like a skeleton to stand on this and then start carve from up to down. So everything they're doing here, and they carve it from up to down using this. Now, before almost like less than 20 years, there were a science from the town. He's a science, archaeological science from Al Farajat family, and his name Sulaiman Farajat. So he was wondering, how about if I take permission and I dig under, I dig on this level, I dig the ground. What is maybe, there is something maybe. So he did dig, and he found the steps. He found the stairs, goes down to another level under the ground. There's another level. So there's two beautiful rooms under the ground. So that's why I always say, wherever they excavate, there is more to see. If they want to dig the ground, to see what is underneath from all these, monuments and treasures. It's still what's being discovered is, they go like with a 22%. 22%. That's meaning around 78% is still underneath. If you dig, you will find. For some reason, they don't want to. I mean, this is what they call like this is where archaeological park of the Petra, right? There's two rooms, also for some purpose. During which king I said? Aretas the fourth. Aretas the fourth. He's a very wisdom king. Can I tell you? Well, I will tell you a story about Aretas. Okay, you will enjoy the story. But it's not confirmed story. So I will be linked also to Herodotus. You know Herodotus? Herodotus the second. Herod, he have a castle in an area which is called by Macarius. It's one of the Christian pilgrimage. And in that area, Macarius, John the Baptist, he was headed there because of Salome story, which is in the...
His head on it.
Yes, he was headed in Macarius. It's in the north from where we are, northwest from where we are, okay? Where it's not far away from the Dead Sea. Yeah. They call it Herodotus Castle. Herodotus Castle. Now, before that, let me just show you something else. That there were the earthquake, dropped down one of the columns here. See the column here? This was down back to the earliest of 19th century, and then they put it up again. You can see the bricks and the plaster. So this is proof that the lower columns is not holding or carrying out the upper part. Well, I'm just making this a story. I mean, it's not really for believing this story, but sometimes when you read lots of details, you can connect things. They said Aretas IV, he have a beautiful princess daughter, and she's named Masada. So when they make the deal, as I believe, with the Romans to keep it safe, to make a deal back in that time, they let sometimes the kings married. So that's make like unite and peace, to make more peace. So Herod, he did married to Masada, and he took Masada to that palace, which is in that place where Macarius. From the other side, the area now they call it Masada. There is Dead Sea, right? From the other side, they call the area Masada. Originally, the name is Masada. I'm just trying to link this.
Oh,
She's
okay.
the daughter.
Okay.
According to the story of Herod, when he fell in love with his sister-in-law, right, the wife of his brother, of course, John the Baptist, he said, this is taboo, and you should not even feel the love for your sister-in-law. So he was against this, and that's what makes the woman hate John, who was the pop, the wisdom man. And when Salome danced to him, he said, ask me. He was drunk. He said, ask me for anything you want. Even if you ask me for the half of my property and authority, I will give it to you. She went to her mother and she said to her, tell him I want the head of John being cut in Macarius, which is in Jordan, one of the Christian pilgrimage places. And this story is mentioned in the Bible. And that's what's unfortunately happened. That John the Baptist, he was headed. Now Masada, when she heard the news of her husband, of what's he's like falling in love, so she felt so sad and she returned back to here. So the name is still Masada, but Masada, they said she's the daughter of this king Aretas. It's nice story. It's good to know, but it's not really confirmed, according to what you see in the physical. Now, there are a lot ask themselves about how they make this carving, the treasury, how they make it. It's all puzzles of rock and cracky. So maybe they make it flat first, flat. So flat from up to down, and then they need to make it like a hole or a gap in the wall. So they make holes, they put wood in these holes, they spill the water on this wood, so this is expanded the rocks, so there is tons of rocks will be dropped down, so you have the gap already, and then you have the splits to be carved again from up to down. Again, whatever I'm saying, you ask yourself how they make it in this equality. Nobody knows. It's carving. It's used the metal tools of carving all this. From all the excavation, we haven't found this much metal tools, because they need lots of metal tools to make all the details of all these stories. This is still survived because we talk about it's like in the east, so the sunrise, if it's get dry, always it will be get dry because of the sun, and this is where the wind direction, and they design it in a way to avoid the water to come on this facade and damage it by like the other monuments, which has got very damaged because of the erosion, because of the wind and the water. So this is one, and number two, monastery.
Okay.
When you go to see the monastery, it's amazing and attractive your eye to keep looking at it, but there is no statues story like those. They have a believing this was the center of Petra, or this was like the royalty oval plaza back to that King Aretas IV, and they have imagination that this was like rooms for the kings to meet and to make the big deal of the business. That makes sense, but it's not record. So until now, and for the coming future, you will ask yourself, if you remember what I'm telling you, that how they carved this really. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
But I know.
And what was in there?
The first one was a tomb for a queen, the queen named Chukaila. But during the Roman, they said, they converted to be a court. Okay, so it's become a court.
Yes.
And when they become Byzantine,
Yes.
it's become a church. When it's become a church, they add this arch. You see the arch to be like a market or souk. For the first one, we said we named every monument as the design of it. So the second one there, it's silky. See, it's smooth, like soft, like silk. We call it the silk tomb because the design and the cross steps. You see, so the silk tomb. And the one in the corner there, we call it the palace. Looks like the palace. So much like very, very much like designed like the treasury. And the last one in the corner, we call it the Corinthian. Have all these Corinthian columns. So we call it the Corinthian tomb. Look at the monuments here. It's all destroyed because of the same earthquake we talk about, 767 AD. So it was more than even 8.5 Richter, from the records we know back in that time. Where? We call it the Great Temple also. They were like a gate here, start with a gate and just end up with a gate. The temple was restored by Brown University in America, but it's not really correct when they restored it back. The temple there, you see the columns? There to the left. Now the last monument, which is Nabateans, and what's the difference about it? It's not destroyed because of the earthquake. It's still standing. That one.
Right.
The last one. We call it Qasr al-Bint. Qasr meaning the palace. It's also imagination. The palace of the daughter of Pharaoh. She came to visit here, and she married to a Nabatean prince. They lived in that one. But now my question to you. Let's make some guessing. What do you guess about that one? Of that last building, which is still in a good shape.
Is being restored?
It's not being restored, but it's not destroyed like the other monuments, which is in a normal way.
Why?
Because it was lucky from the earthquake, like the treasury also. Maybe it wasn't shaking this area. So when the shaking happened, maybe some areas changed. That's why it still survived. The last one. And what about it? It is Nabatean. It's Nabatean temple.